we were supposed to leave that day. I don't know if it was 401 or 400 people got killed, but it was a jumbo jet
Wow.
and it crashed over the Everglades
Oh my gosh.
and everybody died. And
Wow.
some people, in my family, they knew I was supposed to be really calling 2 o'clock in the
This is Dale Cross, and welcome to another edition of the Soul Inspire podcast. This is the podcast that features spiritually uplifting stories from awakening souls to help inspire you on your own soul journey. On this episode, my guest is Dianne Collins. She is a philosopher, a mystic, a businesswoman, and futurist, and she's the creator of the groundbreaking system of thinking, Quantum Think, and 10-time award-winning author of bestseller Do You Quantum Think? New Thinking That Will Rock Your World, considered a must-read for our changing times. She is a highly acclaimed leader of new consciousness. She's a popular media guest and strategic consultant to executives, entrepreneurs, students, and professionals, artists, and celebrities. And we're going to hear about her spiritual journey. I'm so excited to have her on the show. Dianne, welcome to Soul Inspire.
Thank you so much, Dale. I am so thrilled to be here because I love, first of all, I'm very big on titles. I love the name of your podcast, Soul Inspire. It really says it all. And
Thank you.
that's what we're here for, right?
Indeed, indeed. Okay, Dianne, well, let's get into it. I'd like to ask you my favorite question that I ask all guests, and that is, can you enlighten us a little bit on your spiritual background?
Yes, I'd be delighted to do that. I am very sure that I entered this incarnation, this lifetime, already on a spiritual journey and really becoming aware of it when I was 4 years old. I remember the exact moment that I was looking in a floor-length mirror in my parents', our family home in New Jersey. And I looked at myself and it was the moment that I became self-aware. And I looked at my arm and I thought, oh, what's this? And that really started my questioning. And I'm not going to go through every year of the life, but I did question the traditional idea of God. I wasn't sure about it. I wasn't against it, but I wasn't quite sure of it. I was brought up in a what's known a conservative, meaning not Orthodox, not Reform, Jewish background family. And I didn't really understand when I was under 12 years old what it was all about, but I wanted to know. I was seeking to understand what God is. And then as I got into my teenage years, I started to look around the world as we do every day, right? We have our collective culture. And I thought, there's something off with this picture. And I have a funny thing I say about it. I think I got off on the wrong planet. I'm sure a lot of people viewing your show feel that way too.
Yeah.
And I knew that what would change the world? There was this disconnect between how we were being to one another, humanity at large, and how we aspire to be, the beautiful, wonderful, light-filled, love-filled virtues that we all aspire to, that we know we're here for, that we're all a part of this oneness. And so I feel very grateful to have had that insight at relatively young age. So it became my quest, Dale, to really discover a way of how do we go from merely knowing the wisdom was all around us. It's in all the books, right? All the great philosophers, theologians, mystics. And I started really looking into a lot of it, the mystery schools. I used to teach myself yoga, hatha yoga, and try to meditate and all these things. But I did know one thing is that I knew that because we are all connected through this energy intelligent field, I don't really know how I knew that at that time, but I knew it, that whoever I would be, my own self-evolutionary state was having an effect on people around me and into the world, that we emanate our state into the world. And so my objective has always been to evolve my own self, to really be as near as possible in self-realization, capital S, capital R, that the God self that we're here to be.
Yep.
And so I took myself on this journey of just investigating whatever I could to bring me there, and to know that bottom line, that we would, as a humanity, how we would begin to live in that sublime state that we all know we're on the precipice of right now. It's already beginning. This is what we call the great shift, as you know.
Yep.
That it would take a literal quantum leap in consciousness. And so that was really how my journey began. And when I started looking into it, and then I was a philosophy major in college, university, and I just kept looking into the mystical arts, whatever I could find that would give me greater insight into the greater whole that that this is all about, that our souls came in. This is part of our evolution of our own soul, individual, collective, group, however you think of it. And that I have been on that conscious path my whole life.
Beautiful.
And it
Now,
eventually,
sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, how did your parents respond to this mystical path? Did they want you to be more conform to their view, or did they give you the freedom to find your own path?
Well, I was also, the rock and roll maverick girl. So I wasn't like Miss Goody Two Shoes. It was a part of in my bio that you didn't read, that I have a wide range of experience.
Right.
And I like to have fun. I love music. I love experimentation. I love being, a little bit maverick. So my parents were wonderful. And they tried to understand. They tried to understand me.
Yeah.
I didn't get too much into the mystical, but when I questioned, the traditional religion, that would maybe upset them a little bit, but I didn't go against them. So I've always, even today, honor the tradition that I was born into. And I still do honor the traditions, and my view on conventional religion is that I actually wrote a blog about it a long time ago. Religion has separated us. Can it also bring us together? Because we all know when you go to the heart of the religion. So there is the sacredness of it, and then there's the dogma that I don't know how the dogma gets there. Some people say they downloaded it, or religious scholars over time, they keep changing it, they're interpreting, reinterpreting. And I think that I like to look at what value anything can bring. So yes, I know that obviously religious fervor and fundamentalism. It's every day right now, causing a lot of problems. And this is why it's essential that we have an awakening of our own consciousness as individuals and also in the collective. And so I'm happy to be here with that. But I don't really like to, I think there are other things about religion that, first of all, it does focus people in on that there is something sacred.
Yep.
So I try to find these value points about it, even though it's never been my way to follow that one, very defined doctrine, but I can see where, well, there's doctrine and dogma. The dogma, I think, is the problem. But I try to just honor it for the people who do, and I can see that, oh, well, at least people come together, even if they go to church once a week, right? And to say, wait, we're honoring something. Maybe the view of God of each person is different, but we're honoring something. It's attuning us a little bit into that. And also that it establishes community, a lot of these religious institutions and organizations. So nothing is as, it's not, nothing can be enlightened unless the people who make up the constituency are working on themselves.
Yes.
And I say, we're all waking up. Some of us know it, and we're doing it intentionally.
Yes.
And some of us haven't realized it yet. And we're all waking up. We're all evolving.
Exactly. I feel like we're all headed to the same place eventually. Some of us might just get there at different times, but when the soul is ready, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
Okay.
that is so true. So true.
So it sounds like you've had a very, very interesting life, and you were a very open-minded, liberal type of person, which I think opens you to a wide range of experiences that perhaps more conservative people wouldn't dare tip their toes in, dip their toes into. So would you say that some of the experiences you had were of these more liberal or open-minded experiences were catalysts that pushed you deeper into spirituality in any way, or?
Well, I was always looking for the spiritual. So the open mind is, yeah, I think that everything that I explored, I remember that when I went to University of Miami in Coral Gables, Florida. I live in Florida and now, and I had this friend, and I always think he wasn't actually my friend, like not a buddy, like let's hang out. He wasn't my boyfriend. He was my consciousness exploration partner, so to
Okay.
speak. I had a lot of those. And at the time, we were both studying the book, Cosmic Consciousness by Richard Bach. I don't know if if you're familiar with that book.
No.
It's still available today, but he originally wrote it in 1901, and he distinguished three levels of consciousness. So keep in mind, I was 19 when I was doing this, because I want to tell you this mystical experience that I had that was like, whoa, what is this? Anyway, so, but just to give the background on it, what we were studying, so Richard Bach, who was a friend of Walt Whitman's, the poet, he was trying to outline what are the different levels of consciousness. And he said there was animal consciousness, like you're a baby and it's totally instinctual. This is what he said. I'm not saying this is true or false.
Sure.
I'm just telling you what was in the book.
Yeah.
And then there was self-consciousness, where you become aware of self, and that most of the population is in that place. And then there was what he called cosmic consciousness. And cosmic consciousness is that mystical experience where you actually know that you're in the experience of unity consciousness, that you know you're a part of all that is, that you know that you are God, God is in you, and you are, you know, everywhere, and all the things that go with it. So, and then, so he talked about that, and then he went through different people who he was determining had reached that state of cosmic consciousness. So among them, Jesus, Buddha, Francis Bacon, he had these people. Okay, so that's enough background on that.
Yeah.
So one day I was sitting outside with my friend, and we were talking about this. We were talking about the book, and we were on a lawn outside, I guess, of an apartment where he was living at the time. And as we started talking about cosmic consciousness, everything became light. It's like I wasn't viewing the light, I was the light. In fact, it was white. There was nothing else but this white, this brilliant white light, Dale. And I guess I lost all conscious. It was very brief, but I fell off the chair. That was the funny part, because I lost all consciousness of physicality.
Wow.
And so I was sitting in the chair, and it was like I wasn't holding on to anything. It was like there was no gravity, there was nothing. And I fell off the chair, and it was like I always remember that. And I've had not an experience exactly like that, but a few different times of experiences like that. And so when you say, well, did it throw you more deeply in? Well, to me, the mystical is normal.
Okay.
And I think that's part of my work, you know, in quantum thing, which combines science and spirituality, and making it modern, making it practical. Like, how do we go from knowing the wisdom to living it? And so when I speak with people about it, I know a lot of people are afraid, you know, like, oh, people will think I'm crazy if I tell them these experiences, or, you know, NDEs are very huge on YouTube right now, on all these shows, which is good, because we're in this time. I'm an avid student of astrology. I like to call it planetary energy trends, for many years, 30 years. And I know, just looking through that lens astrologically, that we're in a time where there is, oh, most definitely, you don't need an astrologer to tell you this, an increase in the interest in these topics in a podcast like yours, like Soul Inspire, and that people want to, because we're in that time where it is time, whether you call it the Great Shift, the Age of Aquarius, the turning of the, I forget the name, you know, from the indigenous people, whatever you call it, we know that we're in this time of a quantum, a literal, I like to say it, a literal quantum leap in consciousness, where we're elevating ourselves, whether we call it going to a higher frequency, or the fifth dimension, or where the light energies from the sun and other, I'm sure, astral bodies are helping the whole thing along, because the galaxy is evolving. The planet that we're on right now is evolving.
Yeah.
And we're evolving. And so there's more attunement to this energy, to this interest, which is really so very exciting. So when I say to me, people, and I work with my husband, Alan Collins, master clamping coach, and we've done consulting for years, and we work in, conservative companies, but the people who are beginning to awaken themselves, because it's all in us, that.
Yes.
We are connected, and you were saying it to me before we came on the air, Dale, that we're connected to all infinite intelligence. So it's a question of, as I say, master your mind, master your life, meaning your mind, not your cognitive click, click, click of having thoughts, but what I could call the five faculties of mind. Natural faculties are real superpowers: intent, intuition, subtle energy, meditation, which I consider one of our faculties, not just a practice, and resonance, which we know is the law of how anything manifests, through vibration. So we're here to master these things so that we become a living positive force in creation. So if we think of it as separate, like, oh, there's an us and them, there's the 3D and the 5G, that holds the old separation consciousness in place. And that's why I like to say we're all evolving. Yep. One of my very great teachers, a meditation master, had a saying: see God in each other. And even if you took that one thing, see God in each other, then that's enough. If you could actually not have that as a concept, but be the walking, talking embodiment of it. And then I've heard some of your guests, talk about, we can look at someone, I can look at you and see, not just because you have that beautiful background, but that the essence of someone, of the emanation of their light body. Yeah. And so this is why I like to, like when they say normalize it, let's normalize that. Why do we have to hold anything as alternative? And I think that's what I saw when I was the young teenage, is that there were the separation between the two different realities. The one that is focused around the physical, more denser planes. And then the other that we feel in our hearts and souls. And so I thought, well, what if we could just, bring that together? And that really actually led me to creating Quantum Think, which is what that does for people. So I've had, there was something I wanted to mention here. I had another experience. Did you want to say something about?
No, it's keep going. I'm loving everything you're saying.
Well, when you say being open, right? But again, I consider myself, and I've been told by many readers that, and we all play a different role here, that I'm a bridge. So I feel like I'm a bridge between, quote, mainstream and the light workers, let's call it that.
Okay.
Okay. That I call it the consciousness crowd.
Okay.
Good name. Cute
good name. Good name for it.
Right. I wrote it because I said, I wrote this blog. It was in a long time ago, but they reprinted it on, at the time, Huffington Post. Now it's called HuffPost. There's a new Main Street out there, and you're probably part of it. And then I started writing it as I've been on all these radio shows and podcasts. And whenever I go on a show, I listen to the show, like
Sure.
this one,
Thank
because you tune in to, right?
Right.
Who is the host? Of course, I know you from another lifetime in this lifetime.
That's
So
right.
we're evolving together.
We are.
And that's so wonderful, Dale, to see you.
Thank
And
you. You too.
so I've been on hundreds of shows at the time I was writing it. And I've also listened to probably 2 or 3 times that many. So I say, there's a new mainstream, you're probably part of it. I call it the consciousness crowd because it was people of all walks of life. It wasn't just people with crystal gazers. By the way, I have all kinds of crystals all over our place. I'm, like, I don't know, I'm just attracted, I bring it in. And this blog went viral, and then they published or put it out again. It re-released it in 2017, still on there. And because of what I was saying it's time for the consciousness crowd to come out of the closet. It's like, we know this. People of every profession, people of every walk of life, people of every culture around the world, because it's universal truth, if you wanted to, right? And they go, oh, that sounds like, talk about one area. That sounds like Buddhism. That sounds like Taoism. That sounds like, yeah, because it's all the multitude of so many fascinating ways, creative ways, and ways that come through each of our souls that come in, but all pointing to the same thing, all evoking that spirit within us. Anyway, I went off on a rant there, but it was a good rant, right?
It was good.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you something though. So
Sure.
getting back to being a bridge, well, one day, actually, it was New Year's Eve day, and I was single at the time, actually divorced from my first husband. And I'm with my second one now for 30 something years. So we're good. But
Congratulations.
I love my first husband too. We had an amicable
Oh,
divorce.
very good. Very good.
And so I decided, there was a place in Miami. It was an Italian supermarket, and it was wonderful and very natural. Like, unfortunately, it closed a few years ago, but really a great place. Just such a good vibe, family-owned place, very kind of big. And in the middle of it, it had a little cafe where it's had prepared food. So I thought, well, I'm going to go there. It's called Lorenzo's. I'm going to go to Lorenzo's. I'm by myself. It's New Year's Eve day, and I'm going to have a nice time. I'm going to go to Lorenzo's, and I'm going to get a split of champagne and sit down and just enjoy coming into the new year, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, and at the time, I had been a few years earlier diagnosed with hyperthyroidism, an overactive thyroid. And one of the things that happens to, if you have that kind of, out of balance thyroid, is you can get, I'll say it in non-technical terms, where your eyes can protrude a little bit. And there's a name for it, I can't think of it. But I was afraid of it, okay? Because I am a Virgo, I like everything perfect. Not that I can ever manage it. The universe always gives me something a little off, and I go, okay, I get it.
Okay.
You want to teach me, to let go of the attachment to perfectionism, but
All
I
right.
still love perfectionism.
Sure.
So anyway, I'm sitting there and I was always afraid of getting that condition with my eyes.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there and it's a very little small area of the cafe. And I see these two women there at a table like across the way from me, and they both have that condition. Now, I'm very aware of it. Actually, there's the actor Gene Wilder had it. There's different people. You would recognize it if you saw it. And I thought, why am I seeing this, God? What is this all about? And I'm a person who I don't usually engage people. I like when they engage me, and then I'm out there like this right now, that I wouldn't ordinarily at that time, especially walk over to that table. But I thought, confront your fear. And I thought, that's it. I had a half a glass of champagne. I'm confronting my fear. I'm walking over to that table and I'm going to meet these women and see what they have to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I did. And I go, oh, I noticed you have this. I have thyroid too, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, they said, oh, sit down, little bistro tables. I sat down and one woman, and I can even picture what she looks like. I don't even know her name. All I know is in a minute, or I don't know what happened to her. It was like she vanished.
Mm-hmm.
The other woman turned out to be an extraordinary psychic astrologer, clairvoyant. And I'm getting chills because she passed away a few years ago in her 90s. Hello, Iris. She rest in peace. She always says, I'm not resting, Dianne. And she always says that every time I bring it up.
Interesting.
So anyway, so confronting my fear, right? And the scariest thing to me was like anything wrong, physical. And this woman became a great mentor of my life. And I'm sure that we were together in other timelines, as they say. And she became a very, very important person to me, an important teacher. I know I was important to her. And that was, I consider that a mystical experience. And I call it, I had a note here because I knew it was coming on the show, that's how to, maybe you'll title the whole session. It's how to follow your soul's path, even when you don't even know what you're doing,
Okay.
That's how my soul's path has been. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I get a feeling to do something and I do it. And I'll even say to my husband now, I say, I have no, he goes, I said, let's go here. Why? I don't know. Let's just go there. Talk about back to the exploration question that you asked me. And every time I've listened, and I think this, as we all know, is the intuitive faculty of mind. When I say mind, I mean awareness, what we hold in consciousness, like the big mind. That is so important in these changing times to really develop that aspect of ourselves.
Yes.
And because we are here at this time, there, quote, no accident that we're here. Our soul chose to come here at this time, during this transitional time, unprecedented, probably, at least in the modern age. It may be forever, now there's hundreds of thousands of years, they're finding fossils, who knows how long we've been here, humanoids. But the fact is that we're here now, and we're here to follow the path, because that is our contribution to ourselves in our own individual evolution and to the overall evolution.
Yes.
To worldly evolution, to universal evolution. So I have this saying like, okay, just follow, and so this is why I say, Dale, I never know exact. I don't want to sound ditzy, but I mean it in a fun but a serious way. I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I should be doing it.
Right.
And you develop, and I had an intent years ago to become masterful with energy. So subtle energy, being able to tune into it and really the clearer you are, and I know you do work with clearing the energy codes, you said.
Emotion code, yeah.
Emotion codes,
yeah.
right. That there's been a lot of clearing going on. It's still going on in terms of an astrological context. And that I always say God uses the planets to focus us. Okay, this is where you need to focus now. And so there's a lot going on simultaneously right now, intensity. Then as we head into, quote, the age of Aquarius, we're there now, but we're getting more deeply in. And what is the age of Aquarius to me, in a word? It's humanity coming together to serve one another, to serve humanity through our own individuality. So it's paradoxical because it's not everybody's homogenized and now we're all the same and everybody has the same amount of everything.
Right.
No, it's that you are here with a unique soul's journey, and we have free will. And so it's looking at, like, even what I call the mystic arts, whether it's numerology, astrology, human design, if you know of it. And it's a tendency. So it's like a soul blueprint. That's how I look at the astrology chart. A soul blueprint. And then we have free will, because this is what divine essence, intelligence, we've been granted with this by human birth. And so one of the things that I did learn from Iris, and she would say, okay, let's say you have the destiny in your chart, astrological chart, or you have the destiny that you have talent wielding a knife. Now, what's going to manifest? Are you going to be a sculptor, a surgeon, a murderer, a butcher? So that's where there are obviously a lot of other ingredients that go into how we bring ourselves and create ourselves throughout our lifetime. But if you just think of that, it's like, yeah, I can do things. Now, what do I want to do? And in this age of Aquarius, we need you to be in touch with what is the unique individuality that you are. Not to be separate, but to be integrated with this age of Aquarius, which the symbol is the water bearer, the nymph or angel, whatever you, holding the water of humanity. And you know that water is a symbol, also symbolizes consciousness. So you're bringing new consciousness and what is unique and uniquely yours to develop and to bring to the rest of us. And this is what I say is so exciting right now. So, okay, what else? So let's see. Going back to that point, that you don't have to know what your it's like following your path, following your soul's path when you don't even know what it is.
Right.
You're following what? You're following connectivity and getting back to the clearing and the emotion code. The clearer we are, our energy field,
Yes.
then obviously the better the connection. I
Yep.
use the analogy of a smartphone, right? Do you have 2 bars up or do you have 4 bars up?
Mm-hmm.
And we always have the opportunity. So you have 4 bars up, what's going to happen? Your intent is going to be working better. Your sensitivity to subtle energy is going to be, your ability to transform energy, your ability to choose, your mastery in being able to choose in an instant, in a moment. Like you get into a bad state. Wait, I don't want to be in this state.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that you can shift it instantaneously because you have that awareness of awareness, that
Right.
awakened awareness. So each, it's almost like you could live a mystical experience. Granted, some of them are very far out. You know, people see lights in the room and everything. I have one. I was going to say you could live it almost as a way of life,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had another type of that type of thing. Like sometimes I think, oh well, God, all these people are channeling these entities and these group
Right.
of entities, right? And I like them, right? Lee
Mm-hmm.
Carroll with Cryon, I like them a lot.
Yeah.
Abraham, right, with Esther Hicks and her
Love
husband.
it.
And they're all great. And when I was again younger and exploring all these things, I went to a lot of channelings too, like locally
Mm-hmm.
where I was living. And so I've always been into it. And naturally, you know, we do question, is this real? Is it not real? But
Right.
I was always think, getting back to the uniqueness, well, wait a minute. I'd like to channel. What about me? Anyone out there? You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I realized we're all a channel of wisdom. I wrote this in Do Quantum Think in the beginning. You know, what
Okay.
am I, a channel or something? Yeah, we're channeling,
Mm-hmm.
but we're channeling what's unique
Right.
to us.
Yes.
And so whether you're a healer, and you said you step aside and something comes through you, or
Mm-hmm.
whether you're, you know, me, a writer, creator, I like entertainment, that I'm developing a TV series.
Cool.
And yes, yeah.
That
Anyway,
sounds fun.
so yeah, it
Good, good,
is.
good, good.
And so whatever you're doing, that's like I was saying, well, people see these orbs across the room. Well, how come I'm not seeing that? Or
Right.
why didn't I have a near-death experience? You know, but I've had, so it's like a question of, well, we don't need to compare, because if you tune into what you have been given,
Yeah.
what we are so grateful for having the experiences that have been given to each one of us. That is inspiring to me. So I think, okay, well, I'm not supposed to be channeling somebody else. I'm supposed to be myself, you know, channeling whatever wisdom is coming through me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to tell you another story. Unless, did you want to?
No, please.
Because this is really significant. Um, not that the others aren't, they all, right? Whatever, it could be the smallest thing. And I get some of these emails from readers of my book that they blow me away, you know, like, oh, I've been meditating for 35 years and finally I get it. But things like this, it's like, thank you. for, first of all, telling me, but
Mhm.
thank you, God, for allowing me to be the vehicle of whatever that connectivity was, where the person gets connected to their own divinity, to their own divine within them. And that's an awakening. So this is before I was married, and I had this boyfriend, this guy I was dating, and he was invited. I don't even know why, if he was a travel agent on a side hustle or something. Anyway, he was invited to the Bahamas, to Freeport, and on this boat, a sailboat, and there would be 25 travel agents. So it was like a resort that was inviting him, and he took me to this resort, and I was excited about it,
Mhm.
Freeport, Bahamas, and it was just going to be a fun time, right? And we would go out on this boat and we would go snorkeling. And I don't know if anybody who's ever been in the Bahamas, but hopefully it's still the same. They all I could think of is that water it's like your screen in back of you, only aqua, right? Aquamarine.
Mhm.
So clear and so sparkling and so pristine aquamarine ocean. And just the clarity, you could see all the way down, 20 feet. And so I was really, really excited, because I was excited to go snorkeling off of this boat. And before we went on this trip, I had been reading the book, Autobiography of a Yogi.
Mhm.
The book,
Yep.
Yogananda, I'm sure a lot of people do. And in case you don't know the book, Paramahansa Yogananda, the Self-Realization Fellowship, well, he's passed the body a long time ago, but a very famous book. And he was um, one of the Eastern yogis from the East, from India, who had the soul's journey to bring yoga to the West. So he came over here.
Mhm.
Anyway, that's in case anybody doesn't know. Let me just take one little sip of water. And okay. So it was all good. We were going on this lovely trip. I was looking forward to snorkeling in that pristine water. And I had been reading Yogananda's book. And a little context on that. I studied philosophy at University of Miami. So when you study philosophy, you study the history of thought, and of all the great thinkers and philosophers, theologians, and and I wouldn't say you study. For me, it teaches you to be a professional skeptic. That's what I say. It's like whatever reality was placed before me ever in my life, it was like, really? Should I believe that? Or whatever. Okay,
Mhm.
so I was a trained skeptic. That was my profession as a philosopher student, right? So I was reading this book. This is the first time and I had read a lot of books, when I was reading and it was, think about it, a self-realized master guru telling his own story in his own words, his experiences. And it's an amazing book if you haven't read it. Thick book, but worth going through it. And at the same time, it was a book that he told the most far out things than people know, that he had this, it's more toward the end of the book, a 2,000-year-old entity called, it was the guru of his guru. Some people say Babaji, I say Babaji. And he would materialize and dematerialize his body and come to visit Yogananda. And you had to be in a very refined state. I mean, these beings just don't show. They don't show up in density. I don't think they can be in the density, right? Is that your understanding?
It seems that way. You'd have to be, you'd have to raise your vibration to meet them where they're at. They'd have to lower their, and then that would be a lock.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to refine. Anyway, so what in my experience of reading the book, I thought, well, this is the most far out things I've read in here. But at the same time, I knew it was true. It was like, you're reading something, you just get it. There was no doubt. It was the first time I did not doubt and get my skepticism going.
Yep.
So now I go on this trip. And this is important to the story. So I'm on this boat, and it's a gorgeous day, and the water's clear. And first I thought, well, the water is so clear, I'm not even going to use a mask. And I jump off the boat, and other people are swimming, and some people are on the boat, these travel agents. And I said, and then somebody said, no, you better use a mask or you won't be able to go down there. I said, okay, throw me a mask. And somebody threw me a mask, and it was like a fastball at a baseball game. It was like that. And I'm looking at it now. It sliced my pinky. Now, this is a girl who doesn't like anything wrong, no blood.
Okay.
All I see now in this beautiful turquoise water is this red blood gushing from my finger. And the skin is, I don't want to get too gross, but you get the idea. So I was like, oh my God. First of all, I was really upset because I never got to go snorkeling. And they're going, come back up on the boat. They're pulling me on the boat, and everybody's around me. And they bring the towel, this big beach, a big beach towel, and I'm wrapping it around my little pinky. Got this big thing. But I felt like I was like in one of those Woody Allen movies where, with the fish lens, whatever, and everybody's looking distorted. And I was out of my mind that this happened at this beautiful trip. One woman emerges and she goes like this, okay, come with me. I'm sitting on the edge of the boat. She clears everyone away. Just everyone go away. I'm going down below with her, right? In the cabin. She brings me down to the cabin, and she's, like puts her arm around me and kind of like not quite hugging, but so I still got this towel wrapped around my finger. And she said, okay, close your eyes. And she takes me into a meditation, and she said, imagine, this beautiful clear water coming up through your feet and through your body and cleansing everything. And then imagine the light coming down through. And I don't know who this woman is. I to this day, I don't know her name. I don't know anything.
Wow.
But here's a woman who's taken care of me, like in this spiritual, it wasn't a spiritual trip. It was a trip of travel agents checking out a resort. So she's now takes me through this 3-minute meditation, and we're standing there. And she says, okay, you can open your eyes now. And when I opened my eyes, I went, like trying to see what happened with my finger. And she said to me these words, you give it lip service, but you have no faith. And I was like, wow, who is this person
Mm.
And that, right? That was powerful. You give it, she didn't say what the it was, but we both knew what she was talking about was this whole spiritual reality
Mm.
that if I had faith, I wouldn't be worried about what did my finger look like under there. Was her point. I immediately like, oh my God, what's
Mhm.
wrong? So that was a very, very powerful experience for me. Anyway, I did end up, we had to go back to the thing. I got 4 stitches, whatever. It's
Mhm.
fine. That's the finger.
Mhm.
And but that I always think of that like from that moment and the combination of that and Yogananda's book, it was like I knew I did not have to doubt anymore. I could just trust in all that is.
Right.
And and yeah,
Trust that the universe has your back.
exactly. And so these are the experiences, maybe I wasn't seeing orbs, but
Mhm.
I mean, that was quite a mystical experience. That was quite a mystical experience to have a woman, she was from New York, I do know that, a woman from New York, travel agent, emerge, bring me in as if she saw me. She knew because she didn't say, oh, do you meditate? We didn't have
Mm.
a conversation. It was like, you give it lip service. It was like, who is she? And then on the boat, I never saw her again. It was only 25. It was like, sometimes this happens
Yep.
where someone shows up.
That's right.
It's God in the form of Mrs. Mystical Travel Agent from New York.
Mhm.
You get the message, it transforms your life. What do you call these STEs?
Oh
What do
yeah.
you,
Spiritually transformative experiences.
yeah,
Yes,
it was
STEs. Yes, correct.
it was definitely that.
That's a beautiful STE because it sounds like God sent you an angel in
Absolutely.
in the
That's
form of this
how I
woman.
felt. That's exactly right. Because I was distraught. I was scared. I
Mhm.
was distraught. And nope, I was losing, my finger. And it was, yeah.
So it
Hmm.
sounds like the universe knew exactly what to deliver you at the precise time in your life.
Exactly. And when you know, and that we have these experiences all the time, right?
Yeah.
It can be in the most ordinary way. You can go out driving your car and, you're late. I mean, this is a very kind of almost a cliche one. It's like you're getting delays, right? Like you have to
Mm.
be somewhere and then all of a sudden something happens, the bridge is up.
Hmm.
And then instead of getting frustrated, you realize, thank you
Yeah.
to the angels who you're getting protection.
Yep.
And yeah.
It's like those plane crashes that you hear about where there was one guy that was supposed to get on the plane, but he's like, well, I got sick that day. I was really upset because I missed my plane. I was sick. Then he watches the news the next day and finds that the plane crashed. And he's like, oh, thank God. I dodged that one.
Well, guess what? I had that as
Oh, you've had
you
that? Oh, tell us about that.
no, let me tell you something.
Oh my gosh.
I forgot all about that, but you're tuned in, Dale Cross,
Am I? Okay, thank you. I believe so. I know
host
so.
of host of Soul Inspire. I want to plug your show.
Thank you.
I was, what was the flight? I think it was flight 401, aging myself, but whatever. Um, I was in graduate school and I was visiting a very good friend of mine in New York with my former husband,
Mhm.
and we weren't married then. And it was Christmas time. and we were in graduate school, so we had a lot of work. We were going to go back after the Christmas holidays, after New Year's. It wasn't yet New Year's, and we were scheduled on this flight. I think it was flight 401. And he kept saying, "Oh, let's stay." And my friend, whose apartment we were staying, and she kept saying, "Don't leave, stay here, stay." I said, "No, we have to go back. So many, we have so much work to do. I have exams, I have this." And they kept saying, "You don't worry about it. You'll do it. Just stay." And I looked at him, I go, "Okay, we'll reschedule the flight." Well, that night, because we were supposed to leave that day, I don't know if it was 401 or 400 people got killed, but it was a jumbo jet,
Wow.
and it crashed over the Everglades,
Oh my gosh.
and everybody died. And
Wow.
some people, in my family, they knew I was supposed to be really calling 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, no, I called actually. "I'm not on are you okay?" I said, I wasn't on, I didn't go
Wow.
on the flight, but that's
Yeah.
true. And it's so interesting that you brought that up. And that's what I mean. You get, these experiences. And I think the more that we can be grateful for them, Dale, and
Mm.
everyone, and just know that this happens. And I do love, what Abraham Hicks says about that. They call it the vortex, right? When
Yes.
you're staying in the high vibrational frequency that they call when you're in the vortex,
Yep.
and you can, that's it. You can just, you keep going, and you know that everything is all right.
I,
Everything is okay.
I love it. It's great. Yeah, living in alignment with your true nature, which is joy from moment to moment. I find that is living in the vortex, right? Like
Absolutely.
staying in joy. So, okay, so you've had a number of spiritually transformative experiences. I really appreciate that you've shared them. Now, that has led you up to the point of you wrote a wonderful book called Do You Quantum Think? So you got into quantum physics. How did you get into quantum physics, and what is that book all about?
Well, I knew that we would have to, as a humanity, have a spiritual awakening. I think I was in my 20s at the time, but for the whole thing to shift, that
Hmm.
for us to come together, that, and I also realized that, and especially at that time, if you went out and start talking in spiritual terms only at
Mm.
that time, it
Hmm.
could be different now,
Hmm.
that people thought it was woo woo, la la land. And what happened is, and so remember, I was on this quest. How are we going to get this knowledge, right,
Hmm.
of all that is, and make it practical in everyday worldly life? And I came here for that. Last page of my book, I was, I didn't choose quantum think. It chose me. In this
Mm.
case,
Hmm.
it chose me. I didn't say, well, I think I'll develop a system of thinking and call it quantum think. No, it happened again, the soul's journey that I have. I never know why I'm doing something, but I
Mm.
just follow the path. And then later it becomes revealed. So now I'm used to it. Okay, I don't know why I'm doing this, God, but all right, I'll do it.
I like
So
that. Yeah.
what happened? Yeah, and it makes it so much more fun.
Yeah.
Joy, as you say.
It's an
So
adventure.
it's an adventure. It really
I mean,
is.
there's no fun in certainty, but there's a whole lot of
Well,
fun
certainty.
in uncertainty. Yeah. I mean,
I
that's,
like both, quantum
yeah.
thinking is both bad.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the certainty and we
Well,
like the
yeah.
adventure.
Yeah. The ego definitely wants stability and certainty. I can
Yeah,
understand
we need
that.
it.
But our
Right.
higher self knows that we're taken care of all the time anyway. So it's like,
Right.
let's
And
embrace.
you don't know.
That's right.
Yeah, what's going to happen? Anyway, so I came across the book, um, Fritjof Capra, The Tao of Physics. Ever see that book?
No, no, haven't.
He was a physicist, one of the, I suppose, first physicists who started getting the convergence of spiritual wisdom, universal wisdom, as I say, common to most mastery traditions, East and West, and converging it and showing how the quantum principles actually were verifying. To me, it was like, oh, thank God, the quantum physicists are coming along and now verifying. It took them a couple of thousand years, but finally, right?
Yes.
You listen to the wisdom of 2,000 years ago, then we already knew it. But so then I think, well, science is, quote, God in our culture. Not that science is God, for some people it is.
Yeah.
I love science, so I'm a big science tech person,
Okay.
well, I like all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, people believe science, right? We
Yeah.
believe the science, even today in the news. Oh, check the science. What's the science?
Yep.
So I thought, if I could show the relationship, because I am not a scientist, and I studied philosophy and psychology. I didn't even really study science until I got out of school. But if I could make those things come together and speak in those terms, then I could get a better listening than if you just come out and say, oh, kumbaya, we're all one and it's all about love. Now we know all about it. So, but if that's all you're saying, how far are we going to get in, like, really people lighting themselves into a higher state? So that's what happened. And then I met, I don't want to go into all the details because I know we're almost at the end of the show, but I met Dr. Fred Alan Wolf through working at the time. We were working on an independent TV project. That project never came around, but I had this friend who was a producer. Anyway, we got together and we were meeting in Connecticut to work on this project, just the three of us. And I said to him, oh, well, I'm sorry, but I didn't have time to read all your books. Dr. Fred Alan Wolf, AKA Dr. Quantum. People may know him from the movies, What the Bleep Do We Know, Down the Rabbit Hole. He was in The Secret guy at the end of What the Bleep, with his hair waving in the wind.
Dr.
Anyway,
Fred Alan Wolf?
He wrote the foreword to Do You Quantum Thing to my book.
Great.
And he became a very close friend, he and his wife, they live in San Francisco, but of my husband and I. We don't see them a lot, but when it's close when we do. And I called him, I said, I'm your official mentee, you're my physics mentor. And so I said, he was always had a great sense of humor. And I said to him, Fred, I'm sorry, but I didn't get it. We're riding in the car. I'm in the back seat. Fred, I didn't have a chance to read all your books. He says, don't worry, cram my head. And which was adorable. So I love to investigate everything. I could, if you told me, ask me question, I could come up with about 100 questions easily. So we got to this home and I started asking him the questions. And then he said, because he wrote a book that won the American Science Book Award in 1982 called Either Taking or Take the Quantum Leap. And he writes, a lot, he's got like 14 or 15 books. He writes quantum physics and more spirituality for the layperson. So that was this book. And because how do we get from the industrial age, or what's known as scientific materialism, also known as the classical mechanical worldview of the 17th century, of the Isaac Newton, and forward up until Einstein came along and changed the ball game. And so how did we go from the industrial age to the quantum age? And it wasn't a linear pathway. It was literal leap, because it became a completely different version of reality. Okay. So anyway, we were talking and he said to me, well, what happens is a scientist makes a discovery and they name it. And then that terminology comes into the language and eventually into the thinking through that, adding it to the language. So I use the example all the time. It's in my book, quantum leap, because everyone understands that term. So it's easy. So quantum leap, where did that come from? Called the father of quantum mechanics, Max Planck. And he just made a discovery that energy does not move in a smooth, continuous way. It leaps in bursts, in what he called packets of energy, he called quanta. Hence the term quantum leap. So the idea is that, a particle can change its spin and, be in the nucleus of the atom and then on the orbit, and there's no pathway. How did it get there? So it's like if we were saying, then I heard you talking about quantum jumping, but it is like that. Even our thoughts, we're going, realities pop in and out of existence. So anyway, I'm having this conversation with Fred, and he's a genius, I will say. And I haven't talked to him lately. I should. I've been talking about him. I haven't talked to him. And I realized after that meeting with him, my revelation was that it wasn't one term at a time. It was the whole system. And I realized that it was the whole system of what is the nature of reality according to physics, which is the fundamental science, right? That informs all the other sciences and life, and that thinking is a system. So this is what came to me. Thinking is a system. And where does the system come from? Well, our thinking is based on the nature of reality system put forth mostly by physics. Okay, also, let's say I have the spiritual wisdom in there. But in this case, the science. So that was my revelation, Dale, that I could show how the industrial age, the classical, mechanical, automated, right, wrong, click on that and that moves. It's a beautiful, genius, obvious system. And it's not like you trade one in for another, but it's an expansion. So like our consciousness, like our soul, it's an expansion. You're not getting rid of one of, that's the either or, throw that out. That's no good, this is good. Although quantum physics has proved, from my layman's understanding, a lot of what the assumptions of classical physics to be actually wrong. And Fred, I have the quote from him in my book. What if 99.99% of what you believe to be true about the nature of reality is actually wrong? I say null and void, incorrect. So just the idea of subtle energy, right? Yes. Einstein, E equals mc squared, where mass and energy are controvertible. So that's what happened to me. And how did I come to quantum things? So I thought, well, this is great. Because if I can put together the quantum principles and the wisdom, and again, make it modern, I'm a modern girl, and make it livable, because to me, it's all, none of it is, it's all nice, we're interested in everything, but if it doesn't integrate into us, then what, to me, it's what's the good of it? Okay. Because I'm
Exactly.
mystical, but I'm also practical. We
Yeah.
need to be living this now. We already know, oh, we should be nice. We're loving. We're all one.
Right.
Everything is connected, but are we living it? So, and I'm not putting us down at all. I'm just making fun because I like entertainment, entertain myself.
That's
So
good.
that's what happened to me. And then I put it into a system of 21, what I call distinctions in new thinking, that are a blend of quantum principles and spiritual wisdom, and how we can, by our own volition, update our thinking and our lives. And because, as I say, I didn't choose quantum thinking, it chose me. And one day the term came through me, and it was so funny because we were working with this major telecommunications company at the time. And I was talking to the vice president of marketing, and it was a big corporation. And I said, oh, I thought of this term, quantum thing. What do you think? He goes, great. So it was like, I trademarked it. So it is trademarked, all one word, uppercase T in the middle. And the beautiful thing for me is that it works. It works for people. And for that, I could never put into words how grateful I am to have been selected. And I said, okay, I'll do it, because was a lot of work, but that's one of my talents, as Alan would say, my husband, is being able to take a lot of details and make it and put it into a simplified system that people, so that anyone can grasp it, because it's a lot. And people say, oh, each one of your chapters could be. So it's part one, so what's the book? Wake up. That's it. What's the subtitle of part? It's in two parts. Part one, wake up. Why should we quantum think? Because as you can hear, I'm a little cheeky and maverick, and I think, okay, I'm not going to just tell you, here, you need to quantum think. It's like, I want to know, why should I? And so that part one is all about how I came to it, the new worldview, old worldview, as I call it, industrial age. We're in a quantum age, still using under the influence industrial age thinking, and we don't realize it. We're back and forth on it. But when you can actually distinguish what is shaping your thinking in any given moment, that's what gives you the freedom to, oh, okay, I don't need to be thinking that way. And then I go into other things. There's chapters on mind, wisdom, masters, light, stories. And then part two is, oh, and guess what? Here, you can quantum think. So part two is live the wisdom, and it is the actual system of what I call 21 plus 1 quantum think distinctions. The last one, chapter 22. And I don't know why, again, why do I say it that way? I don't know. I could say it's 22. It's 21 plus 1, numerologically, maybe. And the last one is called living fully dimensionally. And seeing that everything in life, and I use as an example in that chapter, money, everything has infinite possibility universe. You could come up with any set of distinctions, any number of dimensions. But I identify, for the purpose of this writing, 7 dimensions that everything in life has participation in. So the physical, energetic, virtual dimension of mind, spiritual dimension of heart. I always forget when I'm going through this. Esoteric dimension of the soul, cosmic dimension of natural law, divine dimension of the sacred and the ultimate mystery. So, and then when you start to look at life through these dimensions, a lot of things open up. And that's basically what my book is about. And as I say, I'm not telling you something you don't already know at some level of your being.
Right.
What I'm doing is I'm presencing it so that you can activate it within yourself.
I like that. So it's basically helping people to remember who they are.
That's exactly right.
They've already got all this wisdom within them. So you're kind of just activating the memory of this.
Perfectly said, Dale.
Nice.
Exactly.
That's beautiful. So I have really enjoyed having you on the show, but I do want to ask you one last question, Dianne, and that is if you could share one thing with our audience, what would it be? Like one nugget of wisdom that if you could only share one thing, what would it be?
Let's relate this to purpose, that we each have a unique purpose, that I want to give it to you from a quantum think perspective, which the very first principle, the distinction, is holistic and holographic, which is holistic, right? Everything affects everything else. Holographic, the whole is contained in every aspect of itself. And so but since we've been conditioned according to the industrial age to compartmentalize life, and we needed to do that, it's a very important aspect of our evolutionary cycle as a humanity that we have, that the industrial age got distinguished and so many great inventions came out of it, right? Electromagnetics and everything else. And so, but how did it affect thinking? That's my part of the story here, is that I'm not the scientist, but how did that scientific assumption affect our thinking? So we tend to compartmentalize life. So for example, and there is a distinction in quantum think, number 18, is called the holo movement of purpose. And holo movement is a term I borrowed from the late great quantum physicist David Bohm, B-O-H-M, who said, the reason that we don't see everything as one whole, because there's this holo movement where things go, he called it the explicit order and implicate order, where things go into our view and then they go back into the fabric, sort of hidden from view. So it's like, right, the ebb and the flow of life. So I applied this to purpose. So if that distinction is specifically for people to give clues to distinguishing your purpose. And so I'm giving that, you said, what's the wisdom, is that we're here to live our purpose. It's very important to our mental, spiritual, physical health that we connect to who we are on an individual level and how that contributes to society. And so, it doesn't have to be some grandstand job or, saving the whales, although we need to save the whales. Somebody will do it. And that when you look at your life as one whole story, like a well-written novel or screenplay, there's nothing in it that doesn't belong, and there's nothing in it that's left out. So that's one piece of it, because we're used to thinking of it like, well, I used to be a nurse, but now I think I should be a content creator on YouTube, But so in other words, you're saying, no, well, it's all good, but you don't disparage the fact that you had that experience as a nurse. Because I say, we're given all the experiences we need from infinite intelligence to train us to live our purpose. And our purpose is not one thing, it takes many different manifestations throughout our lifetime as we evolve throughout just this one lifetime. So it's like not one thing, but when you start to see it together and you start to see the patterns, my mentor, I told the story about Iris, the psychic astrologer, and she used to say, catch a pattern, see if you can catch a pattern where you see that, when you were 5 years old, you used to, I don't know if this is true for you, Dale, but I'll use you as an example. You used to go out and look at the sky and, let your mind wander about the clouds and let your imagination flow, right?
I think I did that.
Okay.
I think
So
so.
they did that when you were 5, or when you were 15, what did you do? How you brought that into your science project in high school, or, whatever. And see that we have patterns in many ways throughout our life, because we cannot not live our purpose, even if we haven't distinguished it in our awareness. So that is what I would say. I'm on a bandstand about this because for 2 reasons. One is we need everybody. we need you. We need everyone to make their most sacred contribution now. And to me, that is getting in touch with, and it keeps unfolding. It's not like, okay, that's my purpose, that's it, I got it. No, it keeps, that's the adventure that you were talking about, Dale. So that's one reason. And the other reason is that it's the most joyful thing when you know you're connected to, when you go, wow, this is it. And everything's changing now. I was listening to my astrology teacher earlier, and she was talking about, because she's doing readings all the time, everybody that she is reading is saying, we're all coming out in a new way now. This is the mandate from infinite intelligence, is that we have a new expression of ourselves. It doesn't mean that you throw out everything that you've ever been. It's that you say, wow, I am so glad for me. I worked in a Fortune 50 company, and I had to manage so many details as a manager in Florida. And I think, wow, yeah, I can manage details. I am so glad that I had that experience. And this is how you can think about your life, is that you see that every experience that you're given, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the sublime, and, some of it is ugly, let's face it, but that, how does that fit into the whole that is your story, that is your own whole movement of purpose?
I love it. Dianne, can you let me know, or let us know, I should say, not just me, but our audience, of course. What is your website? Are you comfortable with people reaching out and contacting you?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
where can they do that? What's your website? And we'll put it underneath the show.
My website is being renewed.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe, okay. Maybe we'll
No,
get
it's
to.
there.
Okay.
It's there, but I just want to say it's a little antiquated. So that's one of the things we're working on now, is the new website, but
Okay.
it's there and it has a lot of things. It's DianneCollins.com, and it's Dianne with 2 N's, DianneCollins.com. And everything is there. And I'm just thinking whether it's contact, but you can, I guess I feel safe doing this with your audience, that you can email me.
Okay.
And I'm on Instagram, YouTube, all the things, social media. But you can email me, and I'd love to hear from you. And it's Dianne with two N's at quantumthink.com. So my website,
Dianne,
DianneCollins.com, but my email is Dianne at quantumthink, QUANTUMTHINK.com.
wonderful. And your book is still available? Is that on Amazon?
Of course.
Of course it
Yeah,
is.
it's
Yeah.
on, I always have it next to me.
Do you quantum think? There's the book. Yeah, great.
It has, I'm proud to say, 10 book awards.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
yeah, and it's in hardcover, ebook, and audiobook. 2 years ago, I recorded the audiobook,
Okay, good.
and which I love, so you can get it.
Yeah, for those that don't like reading and they just want to listen, they can
Right.
go to audible.com, I
Yes,
imagine. Yeah.
exactly.
And
Amazon or Audible.
and Amazon if you want to purchase the book. Very good. Thank you, Dianne, for being on the
Thank
show.
you. Thank you so much. It's been a complete joy.
It has
And
likewise.
so great to see you, and all the best. I know your channel, your TV podcast is going to keep growing.
I
That
appreciate
I know.
that. Well, I appreciate
Okay.
that. Thank you for your light for the world, and see you next time, everyone, on the
Okay.
Soul Inspire podcast. The Soul Inspire podcast is brought to you by DaleCross.net. Discover the freedom, bliss, and ecstasy within you. At DaleCross.net, I can help connect you with your soul's purpose, passion, and mission. Your soul signed up for something great. Discover what it is with the tools I offer. Book a free one-on-one consultation now at DaleCross.net and live your greatness.